draw the tail fin now. I like to start with a basic square. That's one of our leftover pieces. I've drawn out one here. You just kind of pick a triangle shape, and the one on the other plane is 5.5 inches tall. I think it's 4.5 this way. So that's plenty of fin right here on the outside one. So again, just so you can see, it's 5.5 tall, 6.5 down the angle, 4 3/4 on the base. We'll cut that out. And we'll have our tail fin. And again, our rudder is the width of the ruler, which is about 1.25 inches. You can make it smaller. If you're just learning to fly, you can make the control surfaces smaller. I like to have lots of control. So that's perfect. It's actually a little tall, but once we get it in there and it sinks down in there a little bit, it's perfect. All right. You can cut the bevel on that. Remember, don't go all the way through. And voila. We'll sand that up here in a little bit. We'll set that aside for now. Now normally I would use a piece of foam and a piece of basswood on my Firewall, but in this case we're going to use a piece of foam and a couple of these across the front to screw your motor in with. Everybody's got access to popsicle sticks and tongue depressors, so that's what I'll use for mine today. It's real simple. Your Firewall is going to actually sit inside, so you just take your square, what do you have left? Try to find a straight part of it. Just line the piece up inside one side, draw that, just trace it up the side of the fuselage, like so. Take ruler and cut that out. And it's going to sit in there like so. Should have goes this way. Yep. And you're going to want to angle that just like this. Just about I don't know, 1/8 inch of an offset. So when you glue it in, now I scooted it back on this last one I built. That way if I wanted to put a cover over the front, like some sort of cowling, my motor was back in here a little ways. We can go grab the other model and see how far back I put it, but just hold your motor up here after you put your popsicle sticks across here on the front for your screws. Then hold the motor and the Firewall up here. I'll show you how to do that, and then you can judge your distance back. But my other one's something like pretty much like that. So then we're going to take, make sure we got it going the right way. And we'll trim this up. We'll trim this up a little bit, but right now we're just trying to get a good idea. You can see where I missed a little bit of it right there. Still a little hot. Well, I got it. You want this piece flush, so when you put your hatch on, it sits flat. That's better. So then, I always cut the round ends off of the popsicle sticks, so you can't tell I used one. So we'll zip that off. There. And there'll be one down here. Now you can cut that with your razor blade. I have a bandsaw that I normally use, but for demonstration purposes, I'll try the razor blade. Not the best cut, but I don't have a very sharp razor blade. I can't imagine trying to cut basswood. I mean, this is pretty much the same stuff, but the basswood I have is a little thicker. So you got your popsicle sticks there. You're going to take your hot glue, line up your motor. Pretty much have one sitting here like one of my dad motors. I use it for this exact reason. That's why I don't throw them away. I just mark them bad. So you're going to place that on there where your holes are over the wood, and you're going to hot glue your sticks to your firewall. Alright, I went ahead and glued my popsicle sticks across the firewall. I marked where my motor was going to be and cut out the slot for the wires, which is also a breathing hole for the ESC and the battery. So once you get your motor where you want it, get the kick in the firewall, make sure your kick's off to the right, just a little bit, and it'll help. And glue your firewall. Now take a couple minutes and take your piece of scrap foam that we had left over from our tail and cut you 2 of these. These ones are about 3/4 of an inch by whatever the width of your fuse turned out to be. Glue the front one. Go ahead and glue that one now. You can glue that across there. Leave the back one out for now, because you're going to put your servos. Your first servo goes in way back here, right underneath that former. Hopefully you can see that. Right about there. And your other servo is going to go right about there. Now you can put them right across from each other if you want. Mine balanced out real good with one of them back further. So you put them in there however you like. Just hot glue them in. Then you can come back and glue in this stiffener. So go ahead and glue all that stuff in. And we'll pick it up. You can paint it now if you want. The sides and the bottom. Sometimes it's easier or better to paint with all your servos out of there if you don't want to get paint on them or whatever. So sometimes I'll paint mine now if I'm going to paint it. I'll also paint my tail, paint your tail surfaces, because here in a minute we're going to cut a slot back here for the tail. So that's all got to be painted. This all has to be painted before we glue anything else on. So that's probably a good step right now. If you're not going to paint, then don't worry about it. Alright, real quick, before we paint, we need to get the wing stiffener up on the wing, across the top. I'm just going to use popsicle sticks on this one. There's one. I'm going to cut these with a bandsaw. Man, that was fast. See, you gotta get a bandsaw if you don't have one. You get one from Walmart for about $129. Alright, put your dabble glue there. Dabble glue there. Go ahead and glue it across the front. This is going to help your wing with stiffness. You could put a third one in the middle. I don't think it's really necessary for this plane, because I didn't use any carbon fiber or anything in the wing, and I snap rolled the crap out of it, and the wing is fine. Well, let's do it again on the back side. But not only does it strengthen your wing, it's a good rubber band guard. Now, like I said, you can put a third one across the middle if you want. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just do two. And if you have basswood, make a solid piece. But a lot of people don't have access to it, or just don't have it, so popsicle stick will work just fine. Try not to get glue everywhere like I did. Alright, before we paint, I always try to go from one corner of my little basswood to the tip of the aileron. One corner there, one corner there. It's going to give you that little stripe on top. Real easy to do. Now you want to get real technical. Take your razor blade, cut it there, tuck it in right here. Do the same thing on this side. And you'll get a nice looking paint job. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing here on the tail. Go paint, and we'll be back. Alright. Well, we got it all painted, as you can see. I just used red, that's what I had laying around. Something you need to be careful of though, when you peel your tape off, you gotta be very careful not to peel up the outer paper on the foam. So go real slow. My tape job wasn't perfect, you got a little bit of bleeding in there. That's what I get for being in a hurry, huh? So it looks a little better. So our wing is done until we put the aileron servos on and the little linkages. So we're going to set that aside for now. What we're going to work on next is putting this on the fuselage. That way we can get our control rods hooked up before we put a top on the rear end of the fuselage. Looks pretty good. Alright, so when it comes to the horizontal on the rear, some people put them right on top. I think if we put it slotted in the rear end, it gives it a little more support. So on my last one, I think I used this ruler right here. And remember, the bottom of our fuse is straight. So if we go by that and we look at this line right here, we should be pretty straight. We can mark it and take a look. I don't think I want it that high though. I think we should go lower. That looks better to me. We're going paint is still a little bit tacky. So remember, your slot needs to be about 1/4 of an inch. That's basically 5 millimeters. Now, I usually do this part with my bandsaw because I can get both sides at the same time. But you can do it this way too. Since we haven't glued this back here, it makes this part really easy. I'm going to run it over to the bandsaw and finish my cut. Or you can just roll it over. Take your mark from this side and just follow it over here. I guess we could just do that. That's what most people are going to have to do, right? So we figured out where we want to go with the horizontal. It appears to be about 1/4 inch down on the rear of the fuse here, and then just make a straight line from 1/4 inch down your top line. Your top cut's going to be right there. Make it straight, and then another 1/4 inch down and do the bottom cut. That's going to give you the width you need. And I usually do it with the bandsaw, but since I'm trying to do this for demonstration purposes, we'll just transfer the line to the other side. Try to get it as straight as you can. The good thing about the foam is if you're a little crooked, you can sand it or cut it a little more and it ends up being okay. You can make adjustments. You can also do this part before you even glue the fuselage together, but I didn't on the first one. So I know that was a change I was going to try to remember to do. That's alright. We're a little high. My cut right below the line. Looks pretty damn good, pretty close. A little bit of sandpaper maybe. Fits in there nice and tight. Needs a little bit of adjustment, but that's alright. When I say you can adjust it, just take your sandpaper and you can run it in there like so. Get it where you want. So while I try to get my cut adjusted perfect, I'll do that real quick and we'll be right back and finish up. So the way I'm going to glue mine, just come in from the top, put a little dab there, a little dab there, and I'm going to kind of hold it up eye level. Try to get it as straight as I can. Let that set. That'll keep it straight, and then you can go back and glue on the underside and on the inside of the fuselage. Make sure it's straight, and then you can see we got our line that we marked right down the middle. That's very important. Excellent. Now I'm waiting for the tail fin to dry still. I'm going to finish doing this. Once that sets up, take a quick break. When that tail's dry, I'll get back on.